Hey, what's up?
Not too much, man. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Doing all right. It's a really good morning, to be honest.
Yeah, it's
Sunshine.
the weather's pretty sick, isn't it? Still.
Yeah. It's about we cannot leave the house.
Yeah.
So it's about we're locked in.
Are you not going for like walks and stuff?
I do. I was playing some basketball actually,
Okay.
recently, but they closed all the courts.
Yeah.
Like literally, they use those like they fenced everything. Like
Really?
literally,
Even
no one
even the
has.
basketball courts.
Yeah. Every single entrance is just like fenced. You cannot get in at
It
all.
makes sense though, because I noticed a lot of people were playing ball and like going to the park and everything. So it's one of them,
Yeah.
man. How's the fam doing? How's everyone at home?
It's all good, all good. I mean, well, the kids they stay at home, right? So,
Yeah.
um, I'm seeing the little one as well. My daughter, I went to see her yesterday. That
Nice.
was the first time in a month, really. I
Yeah.
was just waiting, I was just waiting for my mask to come through. We had all the gloves and stuff because we take quite a lot of like care
Yeah.
about all the regulations, the distancing, and then we're using like sanitizer gels and sprays, even for the groceries, dude. Like when we buy stuff in the shop, when we bring it back in,
Yeah.
we just do everything properly. Yeah,
You got to do it,
so
man.
we
You got
do.
to do it.
Yeah, sure. Like
She must
it's
have been
more for
excited to
safety.
see you though. Hey, was she excited?
Oh yeah, it was a whole day. It was just me and her, so it was really good.
Oh, that's
So
good, man. That's
yeah,
good.
we enjoyed. Kids don't like video calls,
Yeah,
especially little kids. Yeah.
yeah. Oh man,
Yeah, but she
I
she she
can't
gets
even
really nervous.
imagine. I can't even imagine. So, no, that's good, man. Well, I'm glad you guys are doing all right. Well, thanks for taking the time to jump on. I always start the recording as soon as you jump in,
Yeah,
just because like you just never know what people are gonna say. It could be pretty funny. So, um,
yeah.
so we'll kick it
Yeah.
off. We'll kick it off, mate, because I know you took quite a bit of time. So first off, thanks for your time. Welcome to the Fitness Burrito Podcast. So for anybody out there who hasn't listened to this podcast before, my name is Dan Q. I'm the host. I'm a coach, personal trainer. You can find me at Abante Performance, so ABANTE Performance on all the social media stuff. And today I've got the pleasure of bringing on another chef. So I'm on a mission to bring in some chefs, really, just because everybody's like just talking about food. Everyone's just wanting to know about food recipes. You can't get any goddamn flour anywhere anymore in the stores. Everyone's
Sick.
baking. It's just like, yeah, it's just funny. I was at the store yesterday, and there's people literally on their hands and knees on their stomach reaching for flour bags on the bottom shelf, and you could just tell they were just fucking pissed. They were just fuming. But so yeah,
Yeah.
I'm pumped to have a guest on. His name's Michael Milek. I pronounced that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
Pol-
that's correct.
Polish lad.
Yeah.
He's got a pretty cool backstory, but we'll save that for another day. But yeah, he used to be a PT. He was a chef, then he was a PT, then he's gone back to cooking. So yeah, I was pumped to try to get him on, and obviously Mike, being the cool guy he is, decided, yeah, fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah, of
So
course.
Mike, mate, let the people know obviously who you are. A little backstory, a bit of background, kind of how you found yourself into this chef role that you are now.
Right. So first things first, pleasure to be here. Um, a pleasure to record this with you and just have this chat.
Always
Really.
a stand-up guy. Mike's always a stand-up guy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a pleasure. So yeah. Well, my background. Wow. Yeah. That would be like a 2 up to 3 hour podcast if we would like include my background, if we would include my background story. But just to make it things short, I did a lot of things in my life, to be honest, and I found cooking when I was around 21, 22 years of age, and I found it in Canada actually, right? It's such a coincidence.
Yeah, I
That's where
remember
I
you said
started
that. Yeah,
cooking. Yeah, so it all started like in a smaller city, smaller restaurants, and from there um, I just took it forward. Worked in lots of different cuisines. In Canada, particular was German, and then a bit of Canadian/English food.
hmm
And then when we traveled with my family, when we came down to UK, we settled Leeds and Manchester mainly. That's where I started cooking Asian, French, and Italian mainly.
Okay.
So that's like kind of like a really short background with cooking. I was always in love with cooking, to be honest,
Yeah.
and with the techniques and why you do certain things, and certain processes and procedures in general. Like it would just fascinate me,
Yeah.
to
Well,
be
so when did you
honest. And
start? When did you start cooking in Canada? How long ago was that?
that was 10 years ago.
7 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, 10, almost 10 years ago. Yeah, like 9.5, something like that.
Cool. And then you
So
had a
that
bit of
was,
a stint. You had a stint being a PT for about the last year and a half?
yeah, that was, well, I still technically am. So
Yeah, yeah,
more of an online thing, and more like in a really small.
yeah.
I'm working with a small group. I'm doing some programming
Yeah.
and some nutritional advice for people, and it's more of a smaller range. It's more like an addition to cooking, really.
Cool.
But yeah, I stepped away from cooking. I just kind of lost the passion, and I lost the feel for it, and I was like, I just need to try myself in something new.
Yeah.
I used to teach in the kitchen. In general, I was responsible for recruitment and training
Yeah.
all the new chefs. So that's what I used to do, and that's how certain skills transition to being a PT
Yeah.
in general. So yeah, and I find myself as being an open guy, and I talk a lot, probably too much at
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like connection with people. I do enjoy that, and teaching in general. So that's
Awesome.
how kind of all fell into one pot, so to speak,
Yeah.
and yeah,
And then
cooking,
so now
combining
and
cooking
then
and PTing.
yeah, so Mike used to work at the same gym that I worked at. So then after that, then you've gone from I was basically Mike's boss. So it's a joke on the podcast that everybody I have on this podcast I like managed at some
Yeah.
point. You're just another one on that list. So congratulations. So you went then from there to now your new role now, which you're a chef at another restaurant, which is a really kind of popular restaurant in Leeds, and it's yeah, it's awesome. You must get a whole bunch of food from that place, eh? Like, do you guys just get a bunch of
Um,
food to take home all the time?
to be honest, no. Like if the stock management is quite good.
Okay.
So like, well, technically we shouldn't be taking any food. Everything goes to the bin, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if when we're talking officially, but the restaurants, and we're talking about fazenda in general. So I work for those guys now, in the role of being second in charge in the kitchen, and
How's that been? How you found that since you moved back over?
that was really really great. I mean, right before the lockdown, I was in Manchester for 3 days, and I was talking with my executive chef as well, and he wanted me to travel between all the fazendas. So we
Okay.
have like six. There's one in Edinburgh. I think it's Birmingham, Liverpool, Manchester, Leeds, and
Yeah.
there's one more somewhere else. And he wanted me to go between the restaurants and kind of like learn from them and teach them the stuff that I know as well. So it's kind of like just improving overall kitchen improvement.
Yeah.
That was before the lockdown, obviously. But in my restaurant, yeah, it was working really really good, to be honest. A really good team,
Yeah.
and then yeah, high standards as well, which is really good.
Awesome.
Um,
Well, it sounds like you're
so yeah,
enjoying
and it
it,
was.
man.
Oh yeah, definitely got back into it. My girlfriend actually pushed me a lot. She's my biggest critique now. So
Okay.
that's why I kind of redefined my cooking, and I kind of find myself again, like
Cool.
doing weird stuff,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
cured egg yolk and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Well, look, that's a cool background. Thanks for that. This is usually we actually have quite a detailed structure of what we're going to go through the episode. I always send the questions beforehand, then I always kind of give you some time to prep. And this episode's kind of different in the sense that Mike's basically just prepped the whole fucking show. and I basically
Yeah.
just said, "Sweet, that's great." So yeah, we're just gonna wing this episode a little bit. By wing it, I mean Mike's probably just gonna talk through a whole bunch of the recipes and stuff. So I guess, mate, where do you want to start? I know you've got quite a few things. Where do you think's the best place to start?
The best place to start is always the beginning, right? So the whole idea of what I've prepared for today and
Yeah.
for the episodes, like when you contacted me, like this is technically how I wanted to teach cooking in general, because I have like loads of different ideas, obviously, and I
Yeah.
wanted to have my own restaurant. But part of having like your own business as a restaurant business, I wanted to have a certain part of that business to teach people,
Okay.
to organize like workshops and to teach people about cooking in general, um, and about ingredients, about food, about wastage. Like I just wanted to pass the knowledge, so like people don't waste money. That's one, and two is cooking is fun
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
general. Like it as long as you know the basics is it's fascinating, and that's what I wanted to actually bring to your show today, is just literally teach or talk about basics of cooking.
Yeah. Love it.
I have Asian and French cuisine, and from those basics you can take it as far as you want, to be
Okay.
honest. So, and then that's where your creativity comes in, and new ideas, and experimenting with food in general. Once you have that foundation, those basics, then yeah.
Awesome. Well,
So
listen, you go ahead, and every now and then I might cut you off and ask you questions, and it'll be me asking questions as obviously just being selfish and wanting to know, but also just like thinking about the
sure.
person out there listening who might not know. And then
Yeah, sure,
obviously
of
we can
course.
just kind of bounce off. So kick her off, mate. What do we got first?
Yeah, I wrote down a few stuff because it's actually, like it's really specific.
Yeah, yeah.
There's so many things that I wanted to talk about, but then again,
Perfect.
obviously we have a certain time limit.
No, I don't really have a
So
time limit, mate. You
I'll
just
just
go. You
yeah.
just go. You just go.
All right, all right. That's cool. So Asian cuisine, technically, like we're talking about uh, taste,
Okay.
right? Our mouth, our taste buds in general. Um, the Asian cuisine is based around five different tastes, right? So it's your sweet, it's your sour, your salty, then it's your spicy and your bitter,
Okay.
right? And there's one more taste which is umami, and that's the wow taste. So it's like all the five of those basic tastes combined together and balanced,
Okay.
if it makes sense. and
Yeah.
and that's your basic for your Asian. That's your basic taste knowledge, right? And right after that, it's all your products, which for me, I got really fascinated with Asian cuisine just because of simplicity, right?
Hmm.
And then the other thing is how light and how healthy it is,
Okay.
because obviously we're not going to use a lot of oil to cook, and we are not going to use a lot of like heavy stuff like creams, and things that, like, obviously people that probably listen to your podcast as well, that they want to think about, that healthy eating,
Yeah.
not too many calories, right? So starting with vegetables, and that's where you're going to have your base for your vegetarian or even for your meat dishes, right? You're going to have your bean sprouts. They're kind of the most popular ones, right?
Hmm.
You're going to have your munch too. I don't know if you're familiar. It's a
No,
flat
what's that?
bean. It's like a flat bean, like when you have your French beans, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, munch too, it looks almost exactly the same but flattened.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, and you can get it at any store. You can get it Morrison's and Asda. They're literally in the same section. What else? Like simple stuff like peppers, then your onions, your white onions, and then what else did I wrote? Bok choy. That's a big one. Bok choy or pak choy. It's sort of cabbage looking
Okay.
kind of vegetable, and all those vegetables that I mentioned, like if you Google the name, if you search it, most of these shops will have it, and they're really high in minerals and vitamins as well. Okay,
Okay.
especially bean sprouts,
Yeah.
and they're quite efficient. From there, you have your vegetable base, And then what you want to cook with is either rice, obviously Asian, right?
Hmm.
Rice or noodles,
Yeah.
right? So I'll take you through some of the noodles that you might use. Some of them you probably already heard. I've listened to one of the podcasts that you made the other day with the other chef.
With Sam, yeah.
So
Quick question.
yeah, so
Quick question. When
yeah,
you mentioned earlier, and again, this is me cutting you
yeah,
off. Sorry, bro. Um,
yeah, go for it.
you know when you're talking about the five flavors. So I think it was
Yeah,
sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and what was the other one?
spicy,
Spicy. And then all together, that's like a balance, which is what you said was
which is umami. Yeah,
umami. So
that's
like
yeah,
when you make a dish, when you make an Asian dish, essentially, are you trying to
yeah.
have all those five ingredients together?
Yeah, in a right balance, obviously. Yeah,
Got
so
you.
that's the whole aim. And from your stir fry to your sauce base dishes, Asian dishes, your coconut milk based, or let's say your soy sauce based stuff, through your soups. That's what you want to reach. You want to reach that umami. You want to have that.
Got
It's
you.
simplicity, but it's complex as well.
Yeah, because
So and
you can have different um like volume of each to create it. So it might be that certain, let's say for example, you might have one dish where you have more spice that creates your umami, but then you have another dish which has more sweet and sour and bitterness but less spice, and that's where it
yeah.
starts getting complicated.
Yeah, exactly. But yes, it does sound complicated, but once you know what you're doing, you know
Yeah.
your ingredients, you know the basic tastes, right? Of how your soya sauce tastes or how your rice wine tastes, stuff like that. And when you combine it, it kind of makes more sense, and it's on the end, it comes out not as difficult
Yeah.
as it seems when we talk about it, right? So that's why, obviously, when I'll finish talking about Asian, I have like 3 recipes for you
Sweet.
that I'll just talk with the measurements.
Okay.
And then there are two basic ones, and you can use it for everything. And then the third one is tiny bit more complex.
Okay. Perfect. Awesome.
And if you're gonna need me to write them down and send them to you so you can post it
Yeah, defo. I'll do that,
as
mate. That'd be good.
well, we can do that too.
Sweet.
Yeah, and there's gonna be challenge as well in the end. But yeah,
Okay. All right. Cool. So
challenge
you
for
were
everybody
talking.
that's listening to your podcast, and
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's
in
great.
general for
That's great.
for
Everyone loves
you
a
as well
challenge. Everyone
to
loves it. I
cook.
mean, I
Um,
pretty much every time I do a podcast,
so
like
yeah,
I'm always
are you
trying to
there?
cook something new after. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yo,
Yeah, you hear me, yeah? There we go. There we go. We had some technical
yeah,
difficulties. We're back. We are back. All right. So you were talking about noodles next, mate. So go ahead.
yeah, sure. So you have your udon. Technically, most of the noodles are either rice or egg based.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have your udon noodle, which is a bit thicker. You use it specifically for soups. There are certain stir fries that you can use the noodles with. You're gonna have your rice noodles. You've heard about rice vermicelli already
Mm-hmm.
on your previous podcast. Then you're gonna have your plain rice noodles, and finishing off with bean glass noodles, which are probably my favorite to use. Um,
Any
they're the
reason why?
healthiest ones.
They're the healthiest. Okay, that's why.
Yes, yeah, they're soya beans based,
Okay,
and they're high in high quality carbohydrates,
cool.
and they're called the bean glass noodles. So they're like vermicelli, right? They're really thin,
Mm-hmm.
but they're a bit transparent. Okay, so when you soak them, you can kind of see through them.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, you use them for salads. You can use them for soups. Yeah, and they're quite healthy as well.
Yeah.
Then you have those noodles. They're like the basic four different kinds, and then you have your rice, and that's all. Technically, that's your base. Obviously, your meat. If you like pork, if you like chicken, if you're vegetarian or vegan, if you like your um, tofu as
Yeah.
well. So having all that basic knowledge about the veg, about the meat, noodles, and rice, and we're ready to go. So I don't know if you heard that because of the difficulty, the technical difficulty that we disconnected. But I'm gonna have a challenge like for you and for all the listeners or
Yeah. 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 So I caught
anyone
that bit.
watching.
So yeah. Perfect. So when are you
Yeah,
when are
yeah,
you going
yeah.
to talk about that? You talk about that now, or are you going to drop that after?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're gonna drop it. I mean, I'm gonna talk through. First, I'm gonna start with rice in
Okay.
general. So most of the noodles you can buy them in the store,
Mm-hmm.
and they're packed, and usually they're ready to go.
Okay.
Okay, if you're gonna have your egg noodles, those you usually either you're gonna have to soak or pre-cook, right? So the packet will specify, right? For for your rice noodles and your glass vermicelli, like me personally, I would prefer soak it in the cold water before. So you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna give yourself like 2-3 hours just to soak the noodles. You can use hot water, of course, if you don't have time. But for me, the really important thing is the preparation. So you kind of have to think about what you're gonna eat ahead, if it
Yeah.
makes sense,
Yeah.
especially when you want to play with marinating stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like either your vegetables or your meat, and and you always prepare ahead. So 2-3 hours soaked in cold or warm water, and that's gonna be for your rice noodles and for your bean glass noodles because they're gonna come they're gonna come dry in a packet, right?
Okay.
And again, most of the markets have them. Sorry, most of the stores. So I usually get mine from Morrison's if I can.
Yeah.
I've seen them in Asda as well.
Is there a
Uh,
reason why you want the beans to be soaked? Is it just because they taste better?
is the bean glass noodle, the noodles that we're talking about.
Oh, sorry. Got you. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Beans in general, usually soya beans, which are really high. Again, they have high carbohydrates, proteins, and minerals. You're gonna buy them frozen, so usually blanching them. That's
Okay.
probably the easiest way to go, and just a bit of salt, maybe with chili flakes on top of it, or even
Cool.
garlic powder. And
Yeah.
they're quite cool to have as a side dish. Um, Cooking rice and washing rice in general. Do you cook rice?
Yeah. This is a big one because some people like
Yeah,
soak their rice before they cook it. Some people don't. I'm not gonna lie, I don't.
yeah.
But what
Mm.
I mean, you're the expert. So tell me, what am I supposed to be doing?
So, well, there's always a reason for either soaking your rice or washing your rice in general.
Okay.
So, I usually wash my rice probably around 3 times.
Okay.
So I'll fill the if I'll have the rice in a bowl, I'll fill it with water. I'll just stir it, clean it. You drain the rice, then you repeat the process up to 3 times until the water is clear
Okay.
after washing. The reason for it is just to wash the excessive amount of starch of the rice. So when you cook it, it's not like it doesn't become gummy and
Got
kind of
ya.
sticky, if it makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's nice and clear, and then you can obviously the texture changes as well.
So
Um,
is there a reason maybe why you wouldn't wash the rice though, depending on the recipe?
yeah,
Like
it
if
would
you're
be.
saying if you want like sticky rice, like for a recipe, then you wouldn't wash it, right?
Yeah, you wouldn't. Sushi is one of those.
Got ya.
When you want to keep that gooiness. Some desserts that you do with rice bowls in general, that's the time when you kind of like you want to leave a bit of that stickiness
Hmm.
and that gumminess in the rice. But if I would say when you're cooking your stir fries or when you want to do your curry or when you want to do anything that involves rice as a side for your main, that's when I would wash it because
Got
obviously,
ya.
um, yeah, with your curries it's going to be really heavy, so you want that rice to be nice and clear, right?
Good to know. Good to
Um,
know.
and then soaking the rice,
Hmm.
letting the rice absorb the water. What's going to do for you when you're going to cook the rice is going to become more evenly cooked. So sometimes maybe you notice when you cook your rice, the top it might be a bit more dry compared to the bottom. Like obviously you let the water to evaporate, but then when you soak the rice, it just cooks more evenly.
Okay. Got ya.
So yeah, so
So
that's the reason for those two things.
so to summarize, if you soak the rice, helps evenly cook it. When
Yeah,
you wash it 2 to 3 times, then you're removing the starch, which is going to make it a little bit less sticky, which is going to make it a little bit clearer, I guess,
yeah,
which could be a different texture. But then if you're doing things like desserts or any recipe that needs the consistency of the rice to be sticky or gummy, then you
Yeah.
wouldn't do anything.
Yeah, you wouldn't, or or you would just wash it like once,
Got ya.
just to keep some of that starch in. But it again depends on individual, really.
Got ya.
And then your rice for your stir fries,
Mm-hmm.
and here's the cool thing: if you wash it, you cook your rice, and this is for your leftover rice, right? So, and for me, I do my measurements, but it never works.
Okay. Yeah.
You measure your dry rice, you wash it, you soak it, you cook it, and then it comes out more than you want, really, and then you have that leftover rice.
Yeah.
I usually leave it in the fridge overnight. It dries out nicely, and then that rice, without any modification, I use for my stir fries.
So you throw it in the wok towards the end.
Yes, after your meat and your vegetables, you would add that rice, mix it in, bash it a little bit, so you kind of like um, have like those individual rice bits more than like chunks.
Yeah.
You add your sauce, you stir it up, you heat it up, and it's ready to go.
Yeah, that's one thing
So
actually. Because I've just been watching a lot of like random little cooking videos sometimes in the morning,
mm.
and I always watch the Gordon Ramsay ones because he's just funny. And yeah, and then we cooked a stir fry I think 2 days ago. And before, this is a mistake I used to make. I would just throw everything in the pan at once.
Mm.
And now what we do is like we'll let's say like we started with walnuts I think or something. Or cashews, sorry. So we roasted the cashews, then put them in a plate, wiped the pan, and then we fried or like caramelized the meat, and then we put that to the side, and then we did the veg, and then we threw in the rest, and then we threw the sauce in at the end. Like we did it in stages. Um,
Yeah,
and like before, I never would have done that, and it just tasted so much better. And it was also a lot
yeah, it
quicker.
does.
It was also a lot quicker.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's something you're going to cover, and I may be completely wrong, but whatever. That's just how I do it now.
No, that's actually how you would do it.
Mm,
That's with making a stir fry in general. You want to caramelize the meat, the vegetables,
hmm
and you want to keep the heat quite high,
Yeah,
right? So
that's very popular with Asian dishes too, right?
yeah, and they're extremely fast to make. If you have all your ingredients on the side, if you have your vegetables cut, if you have your meat ready, usually I would sear the meat. If it's like, for example, chicken stir fry, I would either sear it or even cook it through
hmm
before I do anything and have it on the side. And then what you do, you add your nuts, as you said. You can add your egg as well.
hmm
Um, I love to put egg in stir fry. It soaks the flavors really nicely.
Do you throw in your egg when you have your rice, or do you just throw your egg whenever?
I threw the egg right before the rice or noodles if I'll do my stir
Yeah, and
fry.
then it mixes up within.
Yes, it will mix it up, and it will make the noodles. The noodles won't stick to the pan as much
Got ya.
as well.
Are you leaving? So before you throw the egg in, are you
Yeah.
wiping your pan clean, and then you just keep it hot, throw the egg in, mix it around, then throw your noodles, mix it around, and then you throw the rest
Yes.
in.
So I don't take anything out.
So
That's
you
the
just
thing.
always leave the juices.
Yeah. So if I'll have a pan and I'll do that stir fry, I'll put those peanuts in. Then I'll throw the meat inside and I'll stir it with the peanuts, right?
Okay.
Then I'll add the vegetables. I'll stir it further. Uh, y- you want to think about what kind of vegetables you use, right? If you're going to use your peppers and onions, it's not going to take a lot for them to kind of caramelize and cook, and
hmm
you want them to be bit al dente as well.
Yeah.
So you start always with either your peanuts or your meat,
hmm
and then you go with vegetables, and then I would drop probably the egg, stir everything up, add your pasta or your rice, your sauce, and stir until it's all evenly covered
Got you.
and obviously it's hot, and that's ready. And that's going
Cool.
to take that kind of stir fry is going to take you literally 10 minutes, not even to make,
Good.
once
Cool.
everything is ready on the side.
That makes sense. I like that. That makes sense. So I guess you don't need to wipe your pan down every time. You could, if you want to
No.
keep the flavor, if you want the egg to absorb it, like you said, you could just leave it and that's it. That's all.
Yeah, you can use even sometimes 2, 3 tablespoons of water as well.
Mm,
Water or stock. It depends how far you want to go with it.
yeah.
I like to cook a basic stock once every 3, 4 days. I'll keep it in my fridge, and instead of like adding water to my food, like with the stir fry, when you add those few tablespoons of water, that will technically deglaze the pan. So if there's any sauce sticking to the pan, it will kind of melt it and it will incorporate it
Okay.
in the dish. So it's
Oh,
gonna
that's a
have
good trick. I like that.
yeah, so it's gonna give you a bit more moisture inside, and of course it will improve the flavor as well.
Cool. I like that.
Um,
Sorry, I know that was a side
so
tangent, so I don't know where you were at there.
say again, sorry.
Oh, I said I know. I said that was a bit of a side tangent. I know.
Yeah,
But sorry, mate. Keep going wherever you were at before.
yeah, that's cool. We were covering the rice.
Hmm.
Now I can cover some of the basic sauces for your stir fry.
Okay.
So I have two for your classic stir fries, and then we're gonna cover a little bit of Thai as well.
Okay.
They have stir fries as well, but they're a bit different.
Yeah.
Usually the Thai ones are served vegetables with sauce and the meat, almost like your curries, right?
Hmm.
And then you have your rice or your pasta on the side, right? So the basic, which one is going to be first? Udon sauce.
Okay.
Okay. Literally, all you need for that is sesame oil, your soya sauce or light soya sauce,
Hmm.
and mirin. Mirin is a rice wine.
Okay.
Okay, there's a lot of people that are not aware of it. Again, you can buy it everywhere. When the shelf life is few months. So even if
What's
you use a little bit of it,
called? What do you call it? Mirim?
mirin is Mirin. Yeah,
Mirin. Okay.
yeah, and it's literally just an Asian rice wine. So the proportions that you want to have is your soya sauce and your rice wine is 1 to 1.
Okay.
Okay, and then 1/8 of sesame oil
Got ya. So 1 to
that
1
goes with that.
and 1/8
Yeah,
sesame.
so let's say you're gonna have 100 milliliters of your soya sauce, 100 milliliters of your mirin, and then you're gonna add 15-20 milliliters of sesame oil,
Got ya.
right? Combine those three in a pan and let it simmer. Let it reduce probably just a quarter,
Okay.
and that's all.
Okay.
that's that's how basic it is. Okay, you take it off the pan and you let it cool down, and once it's cool, it's ready to use. So
So you put it
when
in the pan, you heat it up, and then
yeah,
you just put it maybe like in a little bowl, and then that's what you use for your stir fry at the end.
yeah, that's your first basic sauce. Literally, when you put all the ingredients in the pan, you let it simmer a
Okay.
little bit. So you reduce the whole sauce tiny bit. As I said, a quarter or a fifth. Like not a lot. And yeah, then you take it off and you're ready to go. So
How long
technically,
does
as we
that
were
take
talking,
usually? How long would that take?
it depends on the amount, really, because with all this stuff, with all those sauces I'm going to give you, you can freeze them as well.
Oh, okay,
So if
cool.
if you decide like, okay, I want to have that option and I want to have in my freezer a bit of like stir fry sauces,
Yeah.
let's say 200, 300 mil of each. When you sit down with your family and you want to do a stir fry for dinner, that's when you take it. That's when you take that sauce out of the freezer and it's ready to go. And it's not going to freeze as well because of the oil. So
Got
it's a
you.
cool thing.
Makes
So it
sense.
stays a bit liquid. Yeah, usually 30 to 50 milliliters of sauce per dish. That's how much you're gonna need.
Okay.
So you have your basic measurements, and from there it's like, okay, it's 5 of us. How much sauce do I need to make? And even
Yeah.
if you make a half a liter of it, it's gonna last you anyway. Because if you're gonna chunk it in your freezer, it's 3, 4 months.
Yeah.
But it can stay there.
Yeah, I think a lot
It's
of
not like you're
people
gonna.
probably don't even think about freezing sauces either. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Like I've never frozen a sauce before, so it just makes life easier. So I like that. It's kind of like batch cooking.
Yeah, which to be honest, I'm a big fan of as well, and I do a lot. And obviously, there are going to be people that don't have as much freezing space, or they don't have a freezer at all.
Hmm.
In your fridge, this sauce, just because it's soya sauce based, it can stay up to probably a week.
Okay.
So from 5 to 7 days, I would keep it in the fridge.
Got you.
So even if you want to have a stir fry twice a week or whatever you feel like it, then you can use that sauce. You can do a tiny bit more of it and then use it the next time you feel like.
Okay.
Um,
Cool. Sweet. So what's the second sauce then?
oh, the second sauce is extremely extremely basic, and it's literally is the same ingredients. So except sesame oil.
Okay.
And the reason why I'm throwing those two sauces in, just to show how simple and how there's not a lot of difference between them, but the final product is going to taste completely different.
Okay.
So the second recipe is technically something that the measurements that I came up with myself, and it's 80 milliliters of soya sauce,
Mm-hmm.
just a regular, no dark, no light, just regular soya sauce, and 60 of mirin, right? So we're using the same stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Those two combined, and you just bring them to boil,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it.
Got you. And then you can do whatever you want.
And it's base for your ramens. That's
Okay.
your basic shoyu. Um, and that's base for your ramens. Is going to be base for your stir fries. It's going to be a base for marinating meat,
Yeah.
because you can do that with those ingredients as well.
Okay.
And here's the thing, this is the base, right? So your soya sauce and mirin, and you can take it further, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can chop up some garlic, you can chop up some ginger, and you can throw it in that pan with that sauce when you bring it to boil.
Got you. So then you infuse a bit more flavor.
Exactly. You can add coriander, and from there you can add a bit spices. You can add a bit of a chili oil, and that's gonna already change your base.
Okay.
Does it make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the whole idea of kind of me bringing all this to the podcast, right?
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily like this is the recipe, you follow the recipe. I give you the basic, and then you go.
And then you can try and you can yeah, be creative and you can put different stuff in it. And then next thing you know, you come up with something, you're like, Jesus Christ, this is amazing. And then yeah.
Exactly, and it brings out really good stuff out of people.
Yeah.
Cooking is really therapeutic, man. It's one
Yeah.
of those things that I love about it.
Yeah, defo. That's good. I like that. Those are two really good, simple, easy to do recipes that you can kind of mix and match and do your own thing with. So no, that's awesome.
Yeah. So usually with the second sauce, again, base for your ramens or your soups in general. If you have your basic stock, you will add a ladle um, to your bowl
Mm-hmm.
of that stock, and you drop 30-40 milliliters of that base, that mirin and soya sauce,
Mm-hmm.
and that's going to give it already a nice kick, a nice flavor to your soup.
Okay.
Okay, and obviously your noodles, your toppings, if you like that kind of food.
Yeah.
With your stir fries, it's exactly the same thing as with the previous one. You can add it with your stir fry on the end, and that's gonna it's gonna bring a lot of flavors out. Because obviously you're gonna have your salty, you're gonna have your sweet, you're gonna have tiny bit of sourness, and
Mm-hmm.
then you can complement it with vegetables, or as I said, add different ingredients to it, as garlic or ginger, just
Yeah.
to enhance the flavors. And the last one that I have for you from Asian is oyster sauce.
Yeah.
So the first two sauces that I gave you, they're technically vegan,
Okay.
right? Because they don't have any products that contain um, fish or any other meat products, or I don't know if any meat products are used to make them. Um, so they're vegetarian for sure, 100%. If they're vegan, you would have to check the ingredients.
Okay.
to be 100% sure. The last one, oyster sauce, is obviously it's an oyster based sauce, and it's tiny bit more complex. Um, so I have the recipe written. I don't know if you want me to just tell it, or do you want me
Yeah,
to
yeah,
send it
go
to you
ahead.
and then you post it.
No, yeah,
Yeah,
tell us what it
so
is and we'll post it as well.
sure. So it's going to be 50 milliliters of oyster sauce.
Cool.
And again, you can buy it in a bottle. So same as soy sauce, you can get it from the Blue Dragon company.
Yeah.
They're very popular, and their sauce is being sold in every single supermarket. Um, so yeah, 50 milliliters of oyster sauce. Then you're gonna have 5 grams of salt.
Yeah.
So you put that salt in. 10 milliliters of light soya sauce.
Mm-hmm.
25 grams of sugar,
Okay.
and 300 milliliters of water.
Okay.
Right? That's your base. All those ingredients you mix together, and you bring it to boil.
Okay.
Right? On the side, you're gonna have 10 to 15 grams of potato starch,
Mm-hmm.
and another 25 milliliters of water. Right?
Okay.
You're gonna mix the potato starch with water. Right? You're gonna dissolve it,
Yeah.
and then you're gonna add to all the ingredients that we have in the pot.
Okay.
Right? That's how you're gonna thicken the sauce.
Got you.
Right? So you're gonna use the potato starch to thicken it up.
Got you.
After that, you cook it until literally becomes thick.
Okay.
Okay, so it's still runny.
Yeah.
So that's where you get that gap, for yourself to kind of like watch and experiment with it as well. You don't want it to be too thick like a jelly, but you
Okay.
still want that sauce to be tiny bit runny.
Got you. Kind of like gravy.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's your third sauce, which is tiny bit more complex,
Mm-hmm.
and you usually use it for your seafood. So if
Got
you
you.
want to do a really nice stir fry with basil and prawns, for example, that's the sauce that you're gonna use for.
Sweet. I know it sounds complex, but it's actually pretty simple.
It is. No, it's super. You literally 4 or 5 different ingredients.
Yeah, you just have to take your time and make sure you just separate the starch with the other bit, and then you mix it all together. And is it always boiling together though? Like when you add the starch in?
When you add the starch dissolved in water, and that's really important, because if you would drop the starch by itself
Mm-hmm.
into that pot with your sauce, it would come out with like lumps. It would become really lumpy.
Got you.
That's why you have to dissolve that starch with water
Yeah.
so it spreads nice and evenly. So once you add that starch with water, you mix it well until it all blends in,
Yeah.
and you let it you let it to simmer like for 10-15 minutes, and you're ready. And
Cool.
that's your oyster sauce, which I'll
Sweet.
probably at some point today or tomorrow I'll drop your recipe so you can actually touch it as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Defo. That'd be awesome.
so yeah, using it for stir fries, using it for soups, the first two sauces.
Yeah.
The third one is a bit more oriented around frying with seafood. So
Cool.
yeah,
Sweet. That
so a
was
bit
great.
of
So that's basically all encompassing the basics of Asian cuisine.
yeah.
Sweet.
Technically, that's what it is, and obviously you're gonna have there's way more details into it.
Yeah.
But starting with the basic, once you get your head around the basic, the rest makes sense.
Yeah.
And then you go for your lemongrass, which is really a nice addition to your soups. Lime leaves. Then you start buying bird's eye chili if you like spicy food.
Okay.
Uh, and yeah, you start adding to it. So it's yeah, that's how the basic
Sweet.
works. And
I'm just gonna
yeah,
pause this for a second because I'm freaking scorching hot in my living room. So let me just pause this, and we're gonna pick up in
no
2
worries, no
seconds.
worries.
All right. Sorry about that. So
It's okay.
for anybody listening, it was just getting so friggin' hot in my living room. I had to address the situation, open some doors and some windows. But yeah, we're back. So Mike just went over the Asian cuisine of things, which was great. And I think is it French now?
Yes, it is French, and again, starting with the basics,
Yeah.
and then throwing in again your own touch, because that's basically what it is. It's as many different personalities are out there. Everybody is different. Is the same with the food.
Yeah.
Once you start when you start cooking and adding your own kind of your own flavors and mixing certain ingredients, you're going to come up with something that is like unique to you.
Yeah.
In a way.
Which I think people like to make their own stuff too, don't they?
Yeah. And if for people that are not really feeling comfortable with it, that's probably the best place to start.
Yeah.
Learn the basics and then just pick it up from there. So again, it's 5 is the magic number for French, from French cuisine, and they have technically 5 mother sauces. That's how they call it.
Okay.
Probably you've heard at least about 2. Hollandaise.
Yeah.
You have your bechamel.
Okay.
Right. Then you have your espagnole.
Okay.
You have your tomato sauce, and then you have your voite. Yeah, I'm not really good in pronouncing French.
Yeah.
Forgive me. I know that you know French.
Yeah, it's all right.
Voile, I think it is. I do apologize.
How's it spelled? How's it spelled?
Veloute.
Veloute. Veloute?
Yeah. There we go.
Veloute. Okay. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
it's all right.
Save me right there. Again, French cuisine is different to Asian, right?
Yeah.
But in certain aspects, certain techniques and certain ingredients can be incorporated in between them.
Okay.
And that's where the real fun starts, right? We're going to start with the 5 mother sauces.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm going to give you a few examples of what you can do with those mother sauces.
Okay.
And then I'll put an Asian twist on 1 or 2 of them. Okay.
Okay.
So obviously your bechamel, all the mother sauces, by the way, the base for the mother sauces is your flour and your butter.
Okay.
Right. Those 2 ingredients are the key technically. That's what makes all the French sauces thicker.
Yeah.
Okay. And it gives them a nice flavor, nice kick as well from the butter and from the flour that usually you roasted. So that's your basic for all 5 of those, right?
Okay.
With your bechamel, that's your cream sauce.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the most basic one would be 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 tablespoons of flour. Where did I wrote it? There we go. 150 to 220 milliliters of hot milk.
Okay.
Right? And the reason why we want to do it with the hot milk, not the cold, is for the lumps, right? So you're going to melt your butter on the pan, you're going to add the flour, you're going to mix it in, and you're going to start frying that off. Okay. Once that flour is frying in the butter, you're going to add that warm or hot milk, and you're going to whisk it until everything, until all the flour with the butter incorporates into the milk and it thickens up.
Yeah.
Right. And that's your bechamel. That's your basic bechamel. Then you add your salt and pepper, and that's all. Right. Again, from that basic, you can take it way further. You can add ingredients, which I'm going to mention once we finish covering French, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your bechamel sauce, you can use it over fish. Okay. You're going to roast your fish in the oven, or you're going to fry it off. You can use it to cover the fish. You can use it for your roasted vegetables.
Yeah.
You're going to roast your vegetables. You're going to cover it with bechamel, a bit of Parmesan over all that, and you roast it in the oven again. You can use it for your lasagna. as
Okay.
well. Obviously, with your meat and tomato sauce, your bechamel, and then your pasta, and that's how you build your layers for your lasagna.
Yep.
So the use of the sauce is really broad,
Yeah.
if it makes sense. And then depending on what else you want to add, right? If you decide to add honey, if you decide to add some other stuff into it, mix it in, it might serve all kinds of different purposes. Um, and it depends on you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Second is velouté, whatever,
Yeah.
whatever. Everybody's
Yeah.
gonna laugh at that.
It's all
That's
right. Yeah.
fine.
We won't hold you to it, man.
It's
You're Polish. You're fine.
the second one. I think it disconnected.
I can still hear you. Oh, well, for some reason, Mike over here's got some dodgy internet connection. Don't know what's going on. So I can still hear you. All right. Well, having a blast here by myself. uh, Mike's face currently frozen. There we go. We got him back. We got him back.
Yeah, here we are. So where I finished on the bechamel, did I?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Then you have your veloute,
Yeah.
or however you pronounce it. People are gonna laugh at me about this. Um, it's exactly the same. It starts the same. It will start with your flour and your butter. Again, you
Mm-hmm.
melt it, you fry it off, and then you add your cold chicken stock,
Okay.
okay, to that mix. A pinch of salt, pinch of pepper, and you thicken it up, okay. So for 2 tablespoons of flour, 2 tablespoons of butter, you're gonna add around 250 milliliters of cold stock,
Okay.
right? Salt and pepper to taste. You mix it, and it's gonna become a bit thicker again. And that's the second mother sauce, and it's a base for many different stuff. For many, you can use that basic sauce to create something more complex, right? Um, as simple as touch of a cream and mushrooms.
Okay.
You have that basic sauce, cream and mushrooms, and you can pour it over your meat.
I was gonna say it sounds more. That sounds more of like is it what is it gonna be like more of like a brown color?
Yeah, yeah. It's going to be a really light brown color. It's literally like your poultry gravy.
Yeah.
That's what you
Okay.
probably are familiar with from
Yeah,
in
it's what
in
it sounds like. It almost sounds like you're making like a steak sauce or some kind of pork sauce or like just red meat
yeah.
sauce.
We're gonna get to red meat. This sauce is for your poultry, right? So all
Okay.
your like turkey, your chicken, that's the sauce that you want to cook your meat in, or you pour it over your chicken, right?
Got ya. So
Um,
your
and then
Bishmel or whatever it's called, and I'll have to
yeah,
Google these. That one's more of like
yeah,
by the sounds of it, like a white, creamy, multi-purpose sauce. You can put it in your pasta. You
yeah.
can put it on a whole bunch of stuff. Your velouté is, by the sounds of it, chicken. Well, it is chicken from what you said.
Mm.
Chicken, poultry, all that stuff. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so it's a bit of light. The hardest one that we're gonna cover is Espanol,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Which is a funny background story. It's gonna be a brown sauce,
Okay.
technically. That's what that's gonna be the end product, um, and is used for base for your red wine sauces mainly.
Okay.
Okay, so all the sauces that you would pour over your beef, right? If you make your steak, then you go from Espanol to create a sauce that is going to be over your red meat.
Okay.
Um, 1 carrot, um, 1 white onion, um, and 1 rib of celery.
Okay.
Okay, all that is going to be diced. Okay, so we're not chopping it finely; we're dicing it, and we're going to fry it off in butter with flour again, right?
Okay.
So that's going to be your basic basic veg mix there. You give it a nice color, okay? You brown up the flour as well, so you have to kind of cook it for probably around 10 minutes.
High heat,
Then
medium heat, low heat?
if I would do it on medium.
For all
You
the
don't want,
sauces?
yeah, I would do it for all the sauces, just to prevent burning,
Okay, especially the
right?
flour, I'm assuming.
Yes, yeah. Flour and butter. If you turn your butter up to like a high heat, then it's gonna burn and it becomes brown and it just doesn't taste right. And it's
Okay.
just gonna happen really fast if you leave your butter on a pan in a high heat.
Yeah.
So that's why you want to have medium to low. And then you're gonna use your stock again. This time it's either beef or veal, okay? And you can buy a concentrate. You can get it off Amazon or eBay. Beef or veal concentrate, right?
Okay.
And then obviously you dissolve it either with water or you're like a basic stock, really.
Yeah.
So you get that nice brown color. When you have your vegetables in the pan, frying off with butter, frying off with flour, you add, and I have 4 cups of hot stock, right? So roughly it's somewhere around 200 ml per cup.
Okay.
You add that in, and then what we have next, there's a lot of things that I have written down here for you.
No, it's all right. It's good. It's good. A lot of good
Um,
examples.
From a quarter to half a can of tomatoes,
Okay.
so another 200 mil, and you just cook it. Okay, you're gonna cook it for another 30 minutes. Okay, so the vegetables become tender. You can add your bay leaf, you can add your garlic, and that's where it starts. You start building up your own flavor, right?
Yeah.
The whole thing you cook for around 30 minutes, and then you blend it.
Okay.
So if you're gonna have your bay leaf inside, if you're gonna have your peppercorns, you try to sieve them out, and the rest of the sauce you just blend it all in. And that's your espagnole. That's a really, really basic espagnole. Of course, with your salt and pepper, and that's to taste. And from then, that sauce you can use, as I said, you can add a bit of reduced wine to it, red wine, again, mushrooms, tiny bit of cream.
Yeah.
And from that basic sauce, you're taking it to that next level, so to speak.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, but it all depends on you, really. The fourth one is hollandaise.
Yeah.
Right. So the egg yolk sauce.
Yeah.
And technically the one that goes over egg Benedict.
Yeah.
That's where people are
yeah.
familiar probably with this sauce most.
Yeah.
But with your hollandaise, you can actually put it again over your fish. You can put it over your vegetables. You can put it over your meat. So it's not bounded to be only over egg.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And again, it depends on the ingredients that you're going to use, and depends how you're going to make hollandaise. How to cover it? It is. Yeah, I'm just thinking exactly how to explain it. It'll be probably easier to actually make a video of how to make hollandaise. Because obviously you want to go with your egg yolks, so it's just egg yolks without any egg whites. 10 tablespoons of butter. Then you're gonna have your 3 egg yolks.
Okay.
You're gonna put the egg yolks in the pan and slowly add the melted butter. So you have to melt the butter first, right?
Okay.
And you're gonna whisk it.
Got you.
Right?
Slowly adding it as you whisk.
Yes, exactly. The butter has to be warm. It cannot be hot. If the butter is going to be hot, it's going to technically cook the egg yolk.
Okay, so
and that's what warm. You don't. Yeah, it just needs to be warm, and you incorporate that butter with that egg yolk.
Okay.
And it becomes technically hollandaise, right?
Okay.
You add a few drops of your lemon juice.
Okay.
Tiny bit of salt and pepper, and Then you add cayenne pepper as well,
Okay.
tiny pinch, and that's up to taste,
And that's
right?
why you probably see cayenne pepper on the eggs Benedict all the time, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
they're just adding
yeah.
it as like a bit of decoration, but it's already in the sauce.
It should be, yeah. The other really important ingredient for hollandaise, at least in my opinion, is tarragon, fresh tarragon.
What's that?
It's an herb
Okay.
actually. So when you have your parsley, basil, you have your coriander, and tarragon is one of them. You usually you buy it dry,
Okay.
but when you make your hollandaise, you try to buy it fresh. It has like those really dark green small leaves. It looks quite peculiar. So yeah, um, for your hollandaise, fresh tarragon is a must.
Okay. Cool.
And when it's ready, you want to keep it warm,
Yeah.
right? And again, over the eggs as normal, but it goes really, really well over the fish too.
Sweet. Cool. Oh, that's a good one.
So yeah, it is quite
So that is
nice.
that's number 4, right?
Number four, and tomato sauce, and this is where we're gonna have a good laugh because I actually discovered this recipe yesterday,
Okay.
and literally my girlfriend was laughing so hard because obviously I'm Polish, right?
Yeah.
And we're gonna cover the basic tomato sauce, and then I'm gonna cover vodka sauce.
Okay. Okay. Is this the spin? Is this your own spin? Is it? Did you just decide it wasn't good
Yeah,
enough, so you just chucked a bunch of vodka in there?
I was like, yeah, no, it's not strong enough. It just needs that extra kick. Yeah. So basic tomato sauce. Again, you're gonna use your onion, your carrot, and your celery.
Okay.
Then you're gonna use around 28 ounce of canned tomatoes.
Chopped or just
Or
like full blown?
um, it depends how they come in a can, really. If they would be fresh, if you wanted to use around 1 kilo of fresh tomatoes, then you have to chop them up,
Yeah.
and it's going to be they will be with seeds as well. So if you use fresh tomatoes, don't de-seed them. Use everything.
Okay.
To be honest, in your sauce. And again, starting with your butter and your flour, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Frying off your veg in that mix, and then if you wanted to keep it vegetarian, don't add any meat to it. But if you like your pork, if you like your beef, you can get a piece of meat with bone,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you can fry it off before you fry the vegetables.
Okay.
Okay. Most of the stuff that I'm covering here usually is vegetarian-ish, because I know that some of people that are going to listen to it they definitely prefer
Yeah.
the vegetarian option. But yeah, if you want to add a little bit of kick to that sauce, fry off a little bit of meat with the bone, then add your vegetables. Of course, you're frying off in butter. Then you add your flour. You brown up the flour, and then you add your tomatoes to it.
So
Right?
when you said sorry, mate, when you talked about the meat and the
Yeah,
bone, just to
yeah,
cover that, because that kind of went over my head. So I start with that first. So I start with the meat on the bone first,
yes.
and I'm
You drop it in
frying.
the pan,
I drop it in the pan with oil or anything.
oil and butter. You can do it with oil and butter, or you can do it just with butter. It
So
just
when you
depends
say
on.
yes, okay. So when you say I'm frying off the meat, what do you mean by that? Am I literally like, am I just trying to get the juice of the meat in the pan before I then chuck more butter and flour and then the veg?
Yes. So technically, you're caramelizing the meat and the bone in general, right? So you want to give it
Cool.
a bit of color, right? It will definitely stick into the pan, but we don't worry about that. Okay, that's actually.
Because eventually that's taken out before, and then I cook the
Yes.
rest, and I don't ever touch that
Mm,
piece of meat again unless I want to eat it then and there.
you're gonna leave it in the sauce. If you use the piece of
Oh,
meat.
got ya,
So if you use the piece of meat, you fry it off and you don't take it out.
got ya.
You
So
keep it
it's part of the
inside.
mix.
Yeah, and again, you don't clean the pan. So what we want to do, we want to deglaze the pan.
Got ya.
Okay, that's this small trick, and it's kind of like it's a process, right? So when you want to keep all the juices and all the fat that was literally caramelized in that pan. You want to keep it in your sauce, right? So
Got ya.
that's what's gonna make the taste even more rich, right?
Got ya.
So with that meat and those vegetables, flour, butter, and you have it ready. You add your tomatoes, as I said, 24, 28 ounce, and up to 1 kilo if you want. If you want to use fresh tomatoes,
Yeah.
you can add a bit of stock, 200, 300 mil to it, and again you cook it. Okay, for another 30, 40 minutes. When the vegetables and the meat become tender, well, the meat will become tender a bit earlier, probably. You take out the bone again. If you want to put some garlic inside, bay leaf, I'll leave that to you. Okay,
Okay.
so just to experiment with it, you take out the bone with the meat and you blend it again,
Yeah.
and that's your basic tomato sauce.
Cool.
And it can go over your pasta. You can go again over your fish, over your chicken, over your beef, with your vegetables. Like there's so many things that you can do, and it's such a basic sauce, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and one of the sauces that you can actually make is vodka sauce.
Okay. Yeah. So come on. What's that? What's that all about?
So yeah, so you take um, probably, do I have it written? Ha ha ha. Right, quarter, half a cup. So probably for 1 kilo of 1 kilo of tomatoes, we did that sauce, your basic tomato sauce. You're gonna take 800 ml of that basic tomato sauce,
Okay. I thought you
right?
were gonna say 800 ml of vodka. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, no. That's after.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's that's after your dinner. Probably 800 ml, and then what you're gonna do first, you want to cook off that vodka.
Okay.
Okay, so if you want to enhance the taste of the tomato sauce, you can chop some onions, throw them in a pan with a bit of oil and butter.
Yeah.
Mixing actually oil with butter, extra virgin. That gives you a really nice kick, and fries of vegetables and meat really nicely as well.
Okay.
So combining two, if you would have a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons of oil, you're gonna add a tablespoon of butter, and the
Yeah.
same for frying fish. By the way, it's just a really good combination, right? So you fry off your onions, and then you're gonna add that half a cup of vodka,
Yeah.
right? Boil boil the alcohol out,
Yeah.
and then you add your tomato sauce. You mix it in, and you spice it up. It completely depends on you,
Okay.
to be
Cool.
honest. And that's where I want. It's not what I want. That's where I like to give a free hand to people.
Yeah.
And I give you a small idea what to do, how to
Yeah. Yeah. No,
enhance
that's good.
the
I think, I
flavor.
mean, every recipe you just gave can apply to so many different things, which is, I think, is the beauty of it, because that's the whole point of why I wanted to bring chefs on, is help people understand how they can cook themselves. Because if you can cook yourself, then chances are you're going to adhere to a nutrition plan, or to a diet, or to whatever it is that you're trying to achieve that much more, because you like what you cook. Like,
Yeah.
most people don't know how to cook, right? Like, every time I speak to a new chef, I think, oh wow, like I can't wait to cook now because I know what to do. So yeah, that's class. That's good. And so, anything else you want to cover on that bit before? I think that's
Yeah,
most.
a cool mix with your bechamel, right? So
Yeah.
the first one that we covered, the creamy sauce, right?
Yeah.
Adding miso paste,
Okay.
or adding soy sauce to it.
So is this what you were saying about the mix Asian and Gaia?
Yeah, why not? It's like, again, experimenting, like combining taste as well. You will have your creamy taste of your bechamel, and then you're gonna add your miso paste or your soya sauce, that bit of saltiness
Yeah.
and bit of sourness at times, and it can serve a lot of different purposes as well. So
Cool.
that's like that small bit of like combining cuisines, right?
Awesome. Awesome. Love
So
that.
yeah,
Cool, man. Mate,
Yeah,
you smashed that. Some really good info. I was gonna like usually we do a flavor of the week segment on every
yeah,
podcast. So
right.
I'm not gonna worry about that because that was literally the flavor of the week, the whole thing. Like you pretty much just like drop the mic on about 25 things. That was great, man.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's anything else you want to cover. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about quick before I do a quick little rapid fire round with you?
I mean, to be honest, like knife skills, I was thinking about covering that because I spoke to you.
Yeah,
I spoke to you about it,
I
but it
think
will be
that,
really difficult. I think
yeah,
we could leave it
a
for another
video.
time.
Yeah.
Um, Two books that I want to refer to people if they
Okay.
want to look into cooking.
Yeah.
The books that actually inspired me to mostly to be a chef.
Yeah.
Um, One of them is French Laundry.
Okay.
Yeah,
Put
it's an American three Michelin star restaurant, and they released the book, and it's fantastic. It just
it's called
it's a
French
book about
Laundry, you said, right?
that's the name of the restaurant as well. Yeah,
Okay,
um,
cool.
it's in top 10 in America
Okay.
of best restaurants. So they're quite high on the list, and they've been there for like 20 years.
Got
So
ya. So they know what they're doing.
um, yeah, where they come from, because their background, those people, and especially the chef over there, it's like I think accounting or lawyer or something like that. It's really
Okay.
weird. The background is completely different to cooking,
Yeah.
and they describe it in the French Laundry, as well how they look for ingredients.
Okay.
Uh, so it's a really good book to kind of like give you an idea of how things work with cooking and with food.
Yeah.
It can bring out that passion if it's there. The second one is Under Pressure,
Okay.
and it's about sous vide cooking.
Okay.
Um, the vacuum pack cooking.
Yeah.
So if you're into that, and if people are into that technique, there's a whole book that literally some restaurants are using that book. Like
Okay.
when they do a recipe, um, they go to that book to see the temperatures and the times of cooking.
Wow. Oh, that's cool.
So
That's really good.
it's
That's
like a Bible. Yeah,
yeah.
those two books. If people want to look into it, into cooking, then yeah,
Awesome, man. No,
that's
that's
what I would
great. And I
recommend.
think I know you were mentioning knife skills, and it's something that we said we were going to try to do anyways, do a bit of a video, and just kind of show people that. And it might be that me and Reese, who's the other coach that I kind of do bits with, might jump on and do a quick little video with you, and we might invite clients and friends and family. Who knows?
Yeah,
It just depends, obviously, how long ISO goes. But even after ISO, I think this is just valuable stuff. So listen, mate, we've pretty much covered all those bits. I always like to end off the podcast episode with like a bit of a quick fire round. So I just ask you random freaking questions, and you just tell me off the top, man, whatever you think. So because you're
sure,
obviously a
sure.
chef, I'll keep it fairly food related. So number one is, what's your go-to meal? Go-to meal you cook?
Oof. Um, well, I cook every day is something else.
Yeah.
I cook for me probably will be ragu,
Okay.
which is a tomato sauce.
Yeah.
It's with grounded, usually pork or turkey.
Okay.
Okay, and it's technically your spaghetti sauce,
Got ya.
but in a really pumped kind of pumped
Okay.
version.
Okay.
That's my go-to meal, and I usually cook more of it so I can have it for 2-3 days.
Sweet. So ragu number one, perfect. What second question? What's one or two ingredients that everyone should have in their home?
One or two ingredients: uh, onions and soy sauce.
Cool.
That's what you should always have that in your cabinet.
It's funny because on the last episode I did with Sam, who was also a chef, he mentioned like soy sauce or fish sauce or something like that too. So
Yeah.
interesting. Okay. Where's your favorite holiday destination?
Favorite holiday destination? That'll be Krakow probably.
Yeah. Okay. Why?
Yeah.
Why?
So back home, Culture, food,
Yeah,
um, the beauty of the city, and the nightlife there. Yeah, it's
tough to
unique
beat.
for me. Yeah, definitely.
Nice. Okay. What's the go-to pair of kicks? Because you're a basketball guy. So what's your go-to pair of shoes?
Ooh, and that this is going to be really old school, and then yeah, and one.
And one, yeah, the old and ones. So many
That's
people have
that's
no idea. Like, anybody's listening to this and they're not basketball fans, they're like, "What is and one?" Just Google and one, literally AND1, and you're just gonna find street ball videos forever. Um,
yeah, that's how I got into basketball in general, and that was my first pair of shoes, and I even
yeah,
have one until now. So yeah, that's those are my favorites.
nice, awesome. Um, who's your favorite basketball player?
Right. Um, well, I have two. One is really old school,
Yeah,
uh, PT Pistol Maverick,
yeah, okay.
and second is LeBron,
There you
obviously.
go. All
So
right, old school, new school. Okay. Who's the
yeah,
best football player in the world?
best football player.
Yeah.
Wow, you got me there. I'm not a big fan of football, but I would say that Ronaldo is.
Oh, see,
I
yeah,
would
yeah.
say.
I like Messi more, but whatever. It's a conversation for another day. And what's the first place you're gonna go to for a meal besides Fazenda, which is where you work when isolation's done? Do you hear me? So we've apparently lost Michael again. Don't know what's going on there. Well, listen, if we don't get Mike on, I'll just do my little outro here. Oh, we got him back on. You got it back
Yeah,
on? Sorry.
yeah, got
I
it.
was
Yeah,
just saying,
football. I'm not a football fan at all.
no, it's
And
all right. You said
player,
Ronaldo, didn't you?
yeah, the only two players that I know is Messi and Ronaldo. They're like
Yeah,
up
yeah.
there.
No, it's all
So
right. The last question I had, mate, was where are you gonna go have your first meal, like in terms of a restaurant, and it can't be Fazenda when isolation's over. Where's the first place you want to go eat? It can't be McDonald's.
nah, nah. It's Bunderbust. Bunderbust.
Where's that?
That's in Leeds, really close to the train station.
I heard
It's
about it,
like,
I think.
oh yeah, you have to go there.
Is it
Like,
nice?
and it's oh my god, yeah. They literally they're vegetarian place.
It's on the
Vegetarians like
corner, right?
vegan.
Is it on the corner?
It's no, it's really close to Yates in Leeds City Center. It's literally it is around the corner, but it's like it's a hidden
Cool.
place.
Sweet.
Um,
I'll have to find it. What's it
yeah,
called again?
yeah, Bunderbust.
Okay.
It's an Indian restaurant. I'll text it to you. It's
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, that would be the first place. That would be the first place after lockdown to go and meet. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, listen, man, that kind of concludes the old quick fire round. So, just before I kind of do a bit of an outro, where can people find you? What's your socials, all that kind of stuff?
For the social media, I have Michael Milek.pt.
Yeah,
That's my Instagram account. I do have a Facebook page, which is exactly the same. And my private is MILAS 1214. That's my private Instagram account where I post most of my food and my experiments. I post there
cool.
that I do. Um, and yeah, that's how you
Sweet.
can find me.
I'll get all those bits anyways. I always put in the notes, and then if you want to send over your recipes too, we'll link them somehow. But yeah, mate, look, really appreciate the time. That was really good. Some really good info for Asian French cooking that I think people can pick up pretty quickly. Wasn't too complicated. As always, I'm
Yeah.
Dan Kirion. Just call me Dan Q because you butcher my last name all the time. You can find me obviously Insta, Facebook, TikTok, all that stuff's at Abante Performance, so
Yeah.
ABANTE Performance. Um, so yeah, thanks a lot, man. I'm just gonna stop this
Thank
recording.
you.
Just 2 seconds, bro.
Sure.